lot of processing on these vocals, and the reason why is because when I get Peyton's stuff, they're very particular on the vocal tone, and what I do is I take their vocal that they had in Pro Tools and I duplicate it and wipe out all the plugins, and I do what I normally do, you know, but then sometime, and I'll compare it to theirs. And in this song, I ended up with a hybrid of what I like and what they had, but I adjusted little things here and there and added to it. And at the end, I ended up with a jillion plugins on these vocals. So we had our 3 vocals, and those 3 vocals are going to an aux. Now this is an aux that Donald had in his session, and I've altered some of the plugins and added 1 or 2 of my own. This goes to a parallel vocal that's parallel right next to it, and on that parallel we have, you know, a bunch of different things. We have a doubler, distressor, my transformer, but this one is cranked, so we're probably saturating a little harder, and then limiter, and a little bit of EQ, pushing up the presence and tightening the lows of the vocal, but it's not blending in very loud, but it's a very steady, tight, not very heavy vocal. So this vocal is very like sung right up on the mic, a lot of proximity, and it's just a very intimate vocal over this track. So the vocal has to sit on top, and it has to like not move. So that's the purpose of that parallel. So
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. Start appearing, I still see you on my phone now. And I've been
So let's just, while we're talking about the parallel, let's just go through that. So I'm going to take the main aux out of the stereo bus so you can just hear the parallel. So just inactivate this output, and now all we're hearing is this parallel.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now.
So you can hear it's a very fuzzy, very stereo modulated with the doubler plugin. So it's an interesting parallel. It's not just your standard parallel compression, but it adds something kind of cool. So we'll start off with the doubler, nothing in the center. We turn the center off, so we just get the sides. So it kind of wraps around the vocal that's in the center. Distressor for some strong compression.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now.
Kind of almost medium attack, faster, medium release. Sorry, I said that backwards. Attack, release. And the 4-to-1 ratio, pretty strong on the reduction.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now.
The transformer gives us some fuzziness.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now.
Kind of cool, gives us a cool saturation. Then limiting.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. Start appearing, I still see you on my.
So it's only limiting stuff that pops out. Otherwise, it's letting it live, you know.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me
Grabs
go.
that first transient, and then, you know, probably a few more through the song, but it's not very strong. And then a little bit of that presence, clarity, and then tucking the lows so that it's not too tubby, you know.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go.
See how heavy it is because of his proximity, like the low humming. So we're cutting that out and boosting up a little bit of presence.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now.
So if we undo and put this level back, there we go. And then put the aux back into the stereo bus, and we listen again.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. Start appearing, I still see you on my phone now.
So listen to the texture. Listen to the mid-range of the vocal without it and with it.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. Start appearing. I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. Start appearing, I still see you on my phone now.
So that's what we're blending in.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me.
It's like really down there, really low. It's just a little texture. So then the vocal itself, let's turn that off.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now.
Vocal itself has a good amount of plugins on it. Looks like maybe 13, 14, a lot going on. We do have Melodyne, a little bit of tuning, a little bit of auto-tune, a little more of that modern you know, tight tuned sound. Auto-tune just kind of has the sound in general, just running through it and doing a little bit of pitch correction. It's not a lot. Like if you watch it,
I've been hearing that you haven't let
say
me
it's
go.
not a lot and then it's going crazy. I totally lied.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go. Now start appearing, I still see you on my phone.
And then, okay, so this is the 902 de-esser, Plug-in Alliance, the Lindell, they made this. Really great de-esser. What's cool about it is the air band and the mix knob. I always love mix knobs on de-essers, so you can sometimes over de-ess and then blend the mix back. This one, we're not really hitting it that strong. We're leaving the mix pretty up there, close to 100%. But we are adding a little bit of the air band, which is just sounds great.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go. Now start.
What's next? We got, oh, the Acoustica Pink EQ. This is an awesome EQ. It's processor intensive, but it sounds incredible. We're doing a little bit of a low boost. We're doing a little bit of a cut, kind of in the 400 area that can get cloudy, you know. This is an interesting vocal because we don't want it super bright, you know. We don't want like the CLA top boost that, you know, on the CLA vocal plugin. We don't want an airy, wispy high end to it. We want a very controlled sound. On the same token, on the lows, we don't want them too boomy or present, but we do want just a strong kind of a mid-range vocal. We want it to sound like he's right here in our face, which is how he was on the mic. Let me show you, bypass this de-esser and the pink. And let me take these off too.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go. Now start appearing, I still see you on my phone. Now.
So now I'll listen to the S's, we'll get controlled a little bit, but then we'll get a little bit of air.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go. Now start appearing, I still see you on my phone.
That's great, just really controls those. I'm gonna crank this air so you can really hear it.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go. Now start appearing, I still see you on my phone. Now. And I've been laying low for a couple days.
So it's, I don't know how they did it, like what the air is. It doesn't sound like a broad shelf. It's just a very, I don't know, it's just right. It's like a very good air that's not over the top. Some plugins that do air are, you just have to be careful with because they're just super bright all of a sudden, you know? So I love the air on that 902 Brainwork, or is it Brainworks? No, it's Plug-in Alliance by Lindell, 902 de-esser. So let's see, we're gonna clean up these low mids and add a little bit of weight on the very bottom.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go. Now start appearing, I still see you on my phone. Now.
So listen how cleaning this up adds clarity to, let's say, like the 1 to 3K range. It cleans it up and you hear, it's almost like I boosted clarity, but I didn't. I cut mud instead. But so it doesn't sound thin, I boosted way below that, which isn't really gonna interfere with our bass or kick. It's just a subtle shelf. You can see here, I'm on A. There's different modes on this plugin if you don't know it. The frequencies will change if you click these different A, B, C, and D, and then over here you got the peak or shelf. We're on A, we're boosting a little bit of 50 hertz, but with a lot of EQs like this, and you have them on shelf and you do the 50, it extends up above the 50, even though it's supposed to be 50 and below, because of the knee of the, if you call it the knee, like where the frequency is, it still slopes down past that up to like 60, 65, 70. And the more you boost, the higher actually you'll end up getting in frequency on the right side of that. If you were to look at a graph, the right side of that frequency. So we're cutting, but we're boosting below it, kind of trading frequencies. But you hear it actually gets clear in the mids, like 1, 2K.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go. Now start. I've been hearing that you haven't let me go. Now start appearing, I still see you on my phone.
So it's not drastic EQ, it's just the right EQ, you know. Over here on the soothe, we're pushing a little bit, kind of where the S's and the whistle frequencies are, 4 or 5K. And then on the lows that we just boosted, where are we at? Well, we're a little higher than that, kind of the 200 range, where we're just tightening that range a little bit.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. Start appearing, I still see you on my phone now.
I love Soothe because it's not a one band, multi-band. Like you don't set it at 200 and that's all you get. It moves with the notes, you know, that the instrument or singer is changing to. So it's a lot better than just one band, you know. Another de-esser. A lot of times I have multiple de-essers. This is the Massey. I love it. It's got the mix knob I was talking about with the 902. But even when the frequencies are set lower, like 2.7K, stuff like that, the Massey de-esser seems to react and do well with higher S's. So I really appreciate the Massey for that. So a lot of times the Massey is my second de-esser and it grabs higher stuff while I'll have an early de-esser. I love the Waves, the original gray de-esser. Let's see, the 902, the Renaissance de-esser. There's so many great de-essers out there. The Hoffa is a great one if you guys don't know that. The Hoffa IO de-esser, or IQ de-esser, I think it's called. And then lastly, on the actual channel, we just have a couple frequencies just tucking. This is, like I mentioned before, when I see little moves like this, it's probably stuff I did at the end of the mix, just to have that vocal fit in there. And then this track feeds an aux, and this is where it gets more complicated because now we have a lot of stuff that Donald had, and it gave a vibe, and I ended up just kind of doing a hybrid. So one that's really important is he likes to use this API 560 on vocals, and I think it's great as well. He's got a little 16K boost, little air, got a dip at the 1K area, and then he's kind of filtering the lows. He does a little sweep. Looks like he has a tiny bit reduction on the 500 area. That's adding a nice character, and then he's got this was his Pro Q Golfas, this is him. I just kind of left it. It sounded good.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. Start appearing, I still see you on my phone.
Pretty aggressive. It's doing a good job. Let's bypass that. And the API.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. Start appearing, I still see you on my phone now.
So the Golfas especially is doing a lot to clean up the vocal. So I left his aux and I kind of mixed into his aux.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. Start appearing, I still see you on my phone.
You can see it's grabbing S's, it's curtailing the lows, tightening those, all kinds of stuff going on in there. Here's the API.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. Start appearing, I still see you on my phone now.
So we have a little bit of a kind of a honky mid-range that's getting a nice dip, and then that air is really cool.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. Start appearing, I still see you on my phone.
That's really nice. His Pro Q, very subtle. After that, SSL, I love this. I use this a lot too. He's got a really fast attack on this. I typically would do 3 or 30 or 10 even. Fast release, fast attack.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. Start appearing.
Kind of riding with each syllable, you can almost see a new movement with each syllable of the vocal. It's like really fast attack and release. It's just on it.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. Start appearing, I still see you on my phone now.
So this is good because it's an intimate vocal and it needs to be right on top of everything. So this is a great way just to even out those dynamics instead of having to go in and volume ride every single word, you know. Here's that gray de-esser, more de-essing.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. Start appearing, I still see you on my phone now.
Not really catching a lot though. So this plugin, this is the Al Schmidt Leapwing plugin. It's one of those kind of all-in-one plugins. It's got different categories like bass, brass, mix, piano, strings, vocals. I think there's an updated version with more categories. But it basically gives you kind of these one knob things like the compressor and EQ, and it has body, which is like low end and thickness. We're not doing anything there. We're doing a little bit of an air boost at 16. Gives you 3 frequencies to choose from. It's got a reverb I'm not using with 3 reverb types. But the golden thing on this plugin for me is the compressor. Just all it is an amount knob. But it sounds so good to me. I use this a lot on vocals.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. Start appearing, I still see you.
Gives you like a very smooth in your face sound. Like sometimes I'll use, you know, like an 1176 or something to really bring the vocal up in your face, but this does it a little bit more elegantly and without all the pumping. I don't know what the release is set to, but they really did it right with that plugin. Okay, so the last plugin is a Valhalla Vintage Verb, and it's set very short. Donald had this on his aux, and it's kind of a cool trick. I've started to do this on occasional songs, and that's what I love about, you know, when I occasionally get Pro Tools as sessions from producers. I'll learn stuff, you know, just stuff that they're doing. Yeah, like I said, very short, not even half a second. There is a little bit of a pre-delay, but the mix is very low. So let me crank the mix up so you can hear what it's doing.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. Start appearing, I still see you on my phone now. And I've been laying low for a couple.
Almost sounds like a bedroom or something. Like it's just a small room, but just a little bit of it gives it a vibe. Like here's, I'll bypass it so you can, and unbypass it so you can hear it.
I've been hearing that you haven't let me go now. Start appearing, I still see you on my phone now. And I've been laying low for a couple days. Like all my problems coming, I'ma run away.
Definitely subtle, but it's cool. And he had that, so I just felt like I should leave it, and I liked it, you know.
Let's hear her vocal going through a light round of like a slower speed, darker tape formula, just to see what it does to the top end. I mean, it may be bad for her bottom end, but let's just see. Okay, so this is bypass.
The winds they blow, the leaves they change.
Okay, here is with a darker tape.
The winds they blow, the leaves.
Okay, let's see. That will give me more room to add more top end if I want. Did you say you like it? I did. You didn't like it? Let's listen to it in the track. So here's without tape.
The winds they blow, the leaves they change.
Here's with tape.
The winds they blow, the leaves.
It's a little too much. It's just a little too heavy-handed. So let's skip tape completely. Now, here is one of my favorite first step tools on vocals, multiband compression. I've got a couple different presets. I'm just gonna start with the standard one.
The winds they blow, the leaves they change.
And let me turn off the, let's see, I'm gonna turn the tube down just a little bit, okay?
The winds they blow, the leaves they change. And we know that life is strange. Hearts can
On the choruses, we don't even need that. But let's see.
On the multiband compressor, what are you trying to?
I'm trying to even out the tone, but she's really staying in one register. You notice that? I mean, it's not a very dynamic thing. So very often, right? I mean, that's what we get a lot of times. So the lower bands can be pushing down the bah, and the band up here can be pushing up the or pushing it down. I just don't know that we need it very much on this track yet. But let me hear chorus or verse 2.
And that heart so broken, bruised. Now it feels brand new.
You know, again, that's another one that I don't think we need on this track. So let's bypass it. All right, let's bring up a little EQ. All right, so let's just start with the high pass filter. And man, I wish I had my S10s. I am scared to death right now, guys.
And that heart so broken, bruised. Now it feels brand new.
Okay, so let's try this.
And that heart so broken, bruised.
Okay, so let's try ducking that just a little.
And that heart so broken, bruised. Now it feels
Okay,
brand
now
new.
I know I'm torn. What I want to do. Okay, so type E, shelf, right? Yeah. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna combine, because there's some stuff up there on her vocal. Let's see if we can brighten her up with a combination of a shelf boost and then a low pass filter. Does that make sense? All right, let's see.
And that heart so broken, bruised. Now it feels brand new.
Okay, right around there, 10 11K is going to be my frequency point.
And that,
Sometimes you have to go way too far to figure out for sure what you want to do. That's what I just did.
and that heart so broken, bruised.
Now let's hear it on the chorus where she's singing harder and determine how much of that we need to roll back out with a high pass. I don't do that on every vocalist. I just feel like she's got enough sizzle up there. If we would have stuck with the 67, I think we'd be fighting hard right now. You remember that? And that's a 67. That's an incredible mic. She's one of those voices, and you're going to encounter those kind of voices that are odd, out of the box.
They blow the leaves, they change, and we know that life is strange. Hearts can break and they can bruise.
Okay?
But at least I know.
Let's start there. I may not use a lot of compression on her. Let's try the RVox first. That's a good old go-to.
They blow the leaves, they change, and we know that life is strange. Hearts can break and
Okay, so we've heard that. Now, an 1176 blue stripe is going to be the wrong call because there's too much stuff in the top end, right? So let's go to the black one, the Rev E. Let's just avoid the blue stripe like the plague on her vocal. Okay.
they blow the leaves, they change, and we know that.
Okay. I like the punch of that. But I'm going to speed the tack up.
They blow the leaves, they change, and we know that life is strange. Hearts can break and
Okay, again, now that I've got compression, you hear how the high end is just too much. So we're going to turn that high end boost down a little bit.
they blow the leaves, they change.
I don't know if it's my ears are tired and then we got ATCs, but it started to sound shrill to me.
They blow,
Oh, we're not to that phase. We're not to that phase.
they blow the leaves, they change, and we know that life is strange. Hearts can.
That don't stink at all. But what we're gonna do, just for grins and giggles, have you guys played?
Did you get rid of the archive, or is it still there?
I got rid of it. I'm just kind of wanting to hear the various flavors there. I'm gonna hear. Do you guys have this? This guy is unbelievable, and it's very affordable. Was it like 50? How much is it? You just go buy it. Oh my gosh!
There's 3 flavors.
Yes. The Klanghelm.
They blow the leaves, they change, and we know that life is strange.
Okay, that don't stink, does it? Is it just me, or is that rounding out some of the top end harshness? Are you guys hearing it back there?
You bypass it?
Yeah.
It is, but it's taking the impact away.
They blow the leaves, they change, and we know that.
That's before. Here's after. Now it may be a different volume.
They blow the leaves, they change, and we know that life is strange.
Okay, what if we only want to get a couple dB on that, and then we want to do something like, does anybody have soothe in here? What if we pull up here, and let's listen.
They blow the leaves, they change, and we know that life is strange. Hearts can break.
Okay, right around 7K, what if we set it to calm it down by just a couple dB softly?
They blow the leaves, they change, and we know that life is strange.
It just keeps getting a little better to me.
All right, so this is the way I do vocals, and it's weird, and I apologize, but whatever. Here's Eric's vocal, and I believe we actually ended up recutting. Let me check real quick.
All day, all night, everywhere and all the time I'm caught.
That sounds new. This was,
Look in your eyes, I'm under your spell. Your spell, oh,
so you can hear that that was actually cut live, but we'll mess with this. So usually what I do is I take the vocal
All day,
and it goes
all night.
out of Pro Tools. Sometimes it gets plugged in, sometimes it doesn't. For whatever reason, right now I see the Sheps plugin on here, which means I was probably experimenting with that. But a lot of times, what it'll usually get is, the typical fab filter, get rid of some low end or whatever. But for today, I was playing with Sheps' new thing.
All day, all night.
And what happens is I pre-process the vocal through that, or maybe some Crane song or whatever, and I send it out where it breaks out on the console to multiple compressors. So the vocal is going out of my system and it's going through the LA2, the 1176 Blues, the Retro 176, this LA, sometimes like different pieces, but I mean, these are kind of the mainstays. And then what I like is the fact that
All day,
you can
everywhere
mix and match.
all the time I'm caught up in it. Everything around me spinning inside out. I'm turned around and I'm upside down. I'm here.
So each of the compressors gives like a different sound. That blend goes out through a bus and it'll come back through the SSL, and sometimes it'll get a little SSL EQ or compression and sometimes not. And the insert of that comes over here and we'll get like some Pultec EQ and some retro EQ. And then even over here let me hit play.
All day, all night.
A little bit of Neve module.
And all the time I'm caught up.
Give it just some Neve Class A and a little bit of GML compression.
I'm turned around and I'm upside down. I'm hypnotized, every time.
Which I've found the Neve, that's an old set of Neves. That's an old set of Neves from Air. And that was, I got them from Richard, and I actually asked him, like, who's cut through these? And Queen, McCartney, yeah, amazing. And they just, if you look at the setting that's on that, there's barely anything, like a tiny bit of low end maybe, and a little bit of high end maybe, and that's it. But just running through the transformers, everything gives a great character on the vocal. Same with the Pultec, stuff like that. Just every little inch matters, especially on vocals. And the GML adds a little bit of gain control, but it really adds a nice richness, like a low-mid richness in the vocal that I've never heard anything else do. So all of that, whatever I do to it beforehand, it'll come through all of this, and then I will print this back into Pro Tools. Like, this goes back into Pro Tools. The vocal sound that I want, gets printed back into Pro Tools. And I should mention that another thing that Michael does for me, my assistant gets to do, which I'm sure he loves, is he'll go through all of the vocals before we start mixing them with Isotope RX and make sure that any little garbage, like pops and ticks and weird breaths and everything, all gets taken care of, so that when I pull up the vocal, I can just pull it up and get the blend I want and print it and not have to sit there and like say, oh, I got to change that breath or I got to do that. Now, at some point in the later part of the mix, you're going to hear stuff that doesn't work, or you need to add an S on something, and I'll do that editing later. But, I get the vocal sound and I print it back into Pro Tools. I'll just duplicate a channel and literally just print the vocal back in.
All day, all night. Everywhere and all the time I'm caught up in it. Everything around me spinning inside out. I'm turned around and I'm upside down. I'm hypnotized, every time.
Effects we can talk about in a minute. What are we doing on this thing? All right. Again, a little bit of low end gone, a little bit of top end gone. Maybe I just want to make it a little bit warmer. This is a cool plugin. It adds a little bit of brightness.
All day, all night, everywhere and all the time I'm caught
I'm using
in it.
8% of it, like just a tiny little bit. Another cool plugin, this thing. The Kazrog guys, I just met these guys, and he worked with them on this this True Iron plugin, and it's really cool. Like, it changes the character.
Night, everywhere and all the time I'm caught up in
just kind of brings a really cool presence, and you get a bunch of different models.
Turn around and I'm upside down. I'm hypnotized,
I think, I mean, mixing is a game of inches, but just vocal sounds are really a game of inches. For the main reason is because, honestly, the 99% of what the artist is going to care about is the vocal sound. So, you know, that's why I spend so much time and so much energy and so much money on trying to make it great. And that's not to say that you have to have analog outboard to get a good vocal. There are songs on this record, several songs on this record, where we like the vocal off the floor, which was a U48 through a V76, you know, with a little bit of CL1A compression. And we liked the vocal so much off the floor that I just ran it through, just out through the dangerous mix bus, and that was it. You know, didn't do any processing to it really. So it's all a game of inches. You know, this adds some air, some presence.
Everything around me spinning.
That adds just a little tiny bit of like articulation on the top. This plugin I use all the time just for tone.
All day, all night, everywhere and all the time I'm caught up in it.
Just feels more forward to me. I'm not using it for any peak reduction at all. It's just for tone. This tames a little bit of that mid-range that can hurt. A little bit of de-essing sometimes, but as you can see, this thing isn't even hitting. This plugin, I don't know. I don't know if you guys if everyone's checked out this Soothe plugin or not, but it's the closest thing to Magic I've seen in a long time as far as plugins go. It's basically just a multi-band limiter. It's just really well designed, and I use it on vocals all the time to get rid of pinch. Just smooth out some of the mid-range stuff. And then this, I've been messing around with this a lot, and I probably shouldn't tell you this secret. No, I'm kidding. There are no secrets. I've been having fun on some vocals with the Metric Halo channel strip by taking, usually I use a little bit of EQ, this is kind of like the very last bit, but this limiter, just throw up the channel strip and just dime the limiter on it, like all the way up. You'll notice that this, if you turn up the gain going into this thing,
all day, all night.
This thing will light up. I'm not turning up that much gain at all. See, it's not even lighting up, but listen to the difference. Obviously, there's a volume difference.
Everything around me spinning inside out. Turn around and up.
It has a really cool pop kind of presence, cut through thing. Maybe every limiter does this. I don't know. This one just sounds really cool to me, so I've started using that on some vocals. So that would be some of the stuff that I tweak. I mean, if Eric's a great singer, and if you listen
all day, all night, everywhere and all the time, I'm caught up in it.
Obviously, other than the gain that it adds, you know, it's just little tiny pieces through the vocal chain, adding little tiny bits of color.
All day, all night, everywhere and all
and you could get away with this.
Everything around me spinning.
Just gonna add a little more presence, little air. You know, again, it's the game of inches.